Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Mega Man and Base Challenger from the Future. Let's finish off the Mega Man run. Please let me go through. I just want to talk to Megaman-Shadow. That's not an option. I'm Megaman-Shadow's first lieutenant, Compassman. His new base is just up ahead, but you won't make it that far. This ends here. Indeed it does. It is kind of weird that we don't have an actual castle in this game in some regards, because even the weirder handheld games always kind of got that right from memory. Mind you, I guess in a lot of ways this game is just weird to begin with. Like, not even talking just visuals or mechanically. Like, even the way Capcom themselves treats this kind of weird, because for the most part they're pretty mum about talking about this one. But if memory serves from what I remember reading at some point over the years, the complete works books that they do every here and there. They're like massive art books for series like that have art from all over their timelines and development histories. I think this is the only one of the games that's licensed that shows up in one of those. Like, usually they keep it just to like the main developer-made ones, but no, this one shows up in there, so there's some degree they probably at least internally respect this one more than some of the other ones, but eh? I actually have a couple of those books myself. I need to get, like, the whole collection, because I have the 25th Anniversary Mega Man, Mega Man X Combined Complete Works one. I have the Star Force one. But I need to track down the Battle Network one, as well as the Zero ZX one. I have a couple of art books like that, actually, besides just those, because, like, the Hyrule Historia technically counts, but I also have the, Material Ultimania for the 7 remake, because I love all the background work that game has into it that's really good. Just good stuff all around. I love art books. Actually had a bit of a dope moment just after Christmas this last year even, where we were over at a Barnes & Noble that was closing, and I was using gift cards I got there. And my mom forgot to give one that she got in the mail to me that was meant for me, because like I think like one of my aunts or uncles just sent like 4 Visa ones our way or something like that, one for each of the core 4 family members. And if I had the funds that one would have given me on top of what I already had, I would have been able to pick up Eorzea Encyclopedia Volume 1 for like 30 bucks total, because how much things were on sale at that Barnes & Noble. It was a sad moment. I at least got a good box set of manga that is sitting on my shelf nice and proudly, but I think overall, Eorzea Encyclopedia probably would have been the more interesting purchase for me overall. Because I do love me some FF14. If there's anything I think this game is overall missing by the end of it, though, I think it's missing a lot of, like, interesting stage variety with what it does, because only, like, 2 stages, like I said last time, I think, have, like, a major gimmick. There's Aircon Man stage being vertical, and the anti-gravity and the Clockman stage, by and large, otherwise, it's just a lot of, like, here's some conveyor belts, or some platforms that fall when you step on them, or landmines. Because I'd say, especially from, like, Mega Man 4 or 5 Beyond, they usually had one level that was more of a definite gimmick level that was cool just to have as a breath of fresh air. And I think that a way they could have done it, potentially, made it work, is if they used the vertical screen again, but made it closer to, like, a shooter segment, sort of like Tengu Man stage in Mega Man 8, but it was a horizontal space shooter, almost like a Galaga type thing. That could have been cool. Don't know how they make the boss fight in that work, though. Either way, time for Compassman once again. You can only hit the very top of the bottom half of his body when he's doing this attack, so get your damage in when you can, because he's invincible all of the times, and because of how small of a hitbox the top of this has, it's pretty hard to hit it consistently. Barrier Wind's the best weapon to use against him technically, but I could actively recommend just using Mega Man's Charge Buster, compared to Base's Buster at least. Because at least when you fully charge it, it might be a large projectile, but it only moves straight forward. It doesn't have any of the vertical waviness that Barrier Wind has that can make it hard to hit this thing as it moves as well. In a lot of ways, Compassman is the most interesting boss in the game, but I'd say he's also one of the most annoying just because of how small his hitbox is. I think, like, the top bosses in this game are just the last 2. Compassman and Megaman-Shadow are far and away the most interesting bosses. And it's no wonder that some of these bosses every now and then show up in, like, fan games. It's just like a little bonus thing, especially Magmammal stuff. But that's that stage done. Like as Base, we do not get a special weapon from Compassman, even though there's clearly a spot for one on the menu, but I think that's technically for treble boost and rush coil, I want to say. So let's go and finish this game off. Please stop, Megaman-Shadow. I shut down your base. It's over. Hardly. We have much to discuss. Do you recall fighting Quint? He is your future self, as am I. Even in my time, Wily still tries to rule the Earth with robots. To save my world, I travel back to erase robots from existence. No! There's got to be another way! Dr. Light would never want this. I won't let you destroy my home. I'll protect Roll and the others. It is interesting. I touched on this briefly during the base playthrough, but this game is like a weird, rare follow-up you see directly to the Game Boy games. And those don't really get brought up much to begin with. Of course, they picked the one from easily the weakest of those 5 games to follow up on, because Mega Man World 2 is definitely the jankiest of those 5 games, I guess is the way I should phrase it. It's got some cool stuff here in an easy final boss, but that game gets janky. And that's not even talking about the soundtrack. I am kind of surprised actually thinking about it. They haven't really done like a Legacy Collection for just like the off games for Mega Man, like all the World games. Maybe get like a translated version of Super Adventure Rockman in there somehow. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool. This screen sucks as Mega Man because of the falling floors. I didn't talk about it much as base, but these floors are sinking across these last 3 screens. And if they get too low, you're just screwed. You won't be able to make the jump up there as Mega Man. Base can do that no problem thanks to his double jump. As Mega Man, not so much. It's, again, one of the few times where playing as Base is just outwardly better, because his double jump is really good. I guess something I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen the fan base try to do yet, and maybe someone has and I just completely missed it, and maybe it's in progress still, or it's canceled, or whatever. As I'm surprised no one's tried to do like a fan remake of this into a engine closer to the other games. Because when you're not doing original fan games, like people are doing just like remakes and demakes of other ones. And we've seen some of the jankier Mega Man games get that. I'm not just talking about like the 7 and 8 demakes, like there's an entire remake of the first DOS game, I think, to function closer to the main games. And I'll get to the DOS games at some point. And I think someone's doing it for X8, and I think there's at least 1 or 2 others. I think there was someone trying to do a demake of Mega Man in base, but I'm not sure if that was just like a single trailer as like a proof of concept or anything. I forget. As I am wont to do, because as I've gotten older, my brain's, gotten some problems here and there. In fact, talking about remakes and demakes, I just remembered there's also another one that I should now factor into that. It's more of a hack than anything, I guess, though. Mega Man World 5, relatively recently, I think the last year and a half-ish, got that Mega Man V DX hack, which like fully colorized the game, reduced slowdown. I think it changed the pause screen as well, on top of some other minor fixes. I need to try that out at some point, because I already really like Mega Man World 5. Between it and World 4 is my favorite, but I kind of want to hope at some point that fans also do that for the other games, just so more people can play those, because Mega Man Worlds 1 through 5 are all good in their own weird way, except for 2. And even then, 2 has at least the humor factor of, oh, this is wrong, this is off, oh no. This mini-boss is more annoying as Mega Man overall, since it's harder to hit the bones as they're trying to approach you, especially if they're just slightly below your Buster's main height bar using a charge shot. Base had the easier time here just because you can aim in all the directions and all that, but you can do more damage to the skull per shot, I guess, so it all sort of balances out. If anything, I'm only just realizing this skull being here is a little weird, considering Dr. Wily isn't in this game whatsoever, barring the name drop, I think, a cutscene ago, just about 2 cutscenes ago, maybe at the end of the base playthrough. This is one of the few games where he's just not involved, period, and maybe that's partially why Capcom doesn't consider it much of a thing to talk about. Now that we're past the mini-boss, though, this stage isn't going to be a lot to write home about. There's still those annoying night enemies I don't like, although I think in some regards they're a little easier, but also harder as Mega Man. Only because you can spam fire a little more quickly, but also you have to be a little closer and all that. You can just ignore them for the most part, barring this one, because Base can take that high road. In a lot of ways, and you can even see this in terms of what's killed me overall through this LP, the enemies aren't as much of a problem in this game, barring if you just take enough hits, as much as the platforming is, because it's very easy to fall in bottomless pits in this game, either due to how the stages are designed, or where enemies are placed, or how your control feels. And in one regard, I do kind of prefer that for Mega Man. I prefer the platforming to be the challenge rather than the enemies. I think the enemies should just support the challenge of the level, if that makes sense. But there's definitely still some cases where it's a little iffy at the same time. Also, thinking about it, I think a part of what makes some of these later levels feel awkward is how they handle cutscenes in the game. Like, I already made fun of it a little bit, I think, in the base playthrough, where every cutscene is, character you're playing as stands on the left, person they're talking to stands on the right. 4 lines of dialogue-ish each, and then you're banned to the stage. If they had a cutscene as well in the stage, like when we reach Megaman-Shadow at the end of this stage, or when you reach Compassman at the end of the last one, they would probably go a little more towards making this feel like you're actually reaching the end of the game. Otherwise, it just feels like another one of the main 8 Robot Master levels just later in. A strat I recommend, by the way, and I mostly do it in the final room in both playthroughs, just use the Clockman's time stop, time bomb, time switch ability to ignore a lot of enemies and blitz forward without much of a fear of having to fight anything, just to make the pain end sooner. I rarely recommend it, especially, like I said, in this final stretch here, because it's not going to do anything against the boss. In fact, I don't think anything technically gets damaged by time switch itself. Because you can't even shoot when you're using this, so yeah, it's really just for avoidance more than anything. In some ways, it almost feels like a debug tool they left in the game. Which, you know, that's happened before. That's essentially what Ascend is in Tears. Alright, final boss, once again, is still the most complex. 3 phases. Starts off by jumping and sliding, sometimes shooting, which can interrupt his slides, and sometimes if he shoots, he'll immediately jump to the opposite direction anyway. Towards the latter half of his health, he starts doing the attack where he gets a Sakugarne, which will teleport above you, and then slam down, where some rocks will rain down after the fact. It's somewhat random. Gotta make sure you do a slide or a dash whenever you're in this phase, just to avoid it potentially slamming down into your face, because it is pretty fast. And in the last third of his health, he's gonna try to dash into you with a sword attack that will send 3 sparks out in either direction. 1 each way going horizontally, and then the 2 diagonals are covered in both directions. It's technically the hardest phase to avoid the attack, just because how do you dodge that many projectiles at once? And that's game once again, but forever this time. After all this, I feel so empty inside. So, you really are me? This is how it ends. Good. I lied before. I was the one who took over my world, Mega Man. After Quint's defeat, I was abandoned, so I upgraded myself. But I went mad. No one could beat me there, so I came here. Wait, you wanted me to stop you? But why? I could have saved you. No, it's better this way. I want my evil to end with me. As you fought my dimensions, I grew stronger. I'm your shadow. Don't abuse your power as I did, Mega Man. Help others. Goodbye. I understand, Megaman-Shadow. I won't misuse my power. Farewell. I'm heading back, base. I hope that I won't have to fight you again. We can live in a world without war. Weirdly, that's not the first time we see a Robot Master get buried in the franchise chronologically. It happens to, I think, Quickman and Super Adventure Rockman as well. And that's Mega Man and Base Challenge from the Future, translation by Nick DC. Link has been in the description for all the videos, and it's also in the link to the playlist. It's not good. I think that's pretty obvious. It's got some cool ideas, but most of those are also ripped wholesale from the original Mega Man and Base. If you're super into Mega Man, I'd say it's worth a playthrough, but only do one, and I would recommend Mega Man overall. There are just better Mega Man games, period. But there's also technically worse ones. It's not a buggy game. It's just all off-feeling. It's also just incredibly uninteresting in its level design for the most part, so it just ends up being kind of a nothing game. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, have a great night, take care, and I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be, and it might be the end of this little mini Mega Marathon. See you guys then.